I didn't ever think I'd ever say that. I've got a grandkid, do you know what I mean?
Well,
I didn't think I'd live that long.
Yeah, time flies. Yeah, it's interesting because it seems like a lot of people that are into rock or punk, they seem to feel like they're going to live a short lifestyle. Or
well, a lot of them have. You know, that's the problem, isn't it? A lot of them actually never made it that long, did they?
Yeah, Jim Morrison and some other famous people, Jimi Hendrix and whatnot. They didn't make it past the age of 27. I think that was like the age of death or something.
Yeah, and I think a lot of, you know, without realising it, I think a lot of sort of musicians sort of followed on in the footsteps without meaning to, do you know what I mean? But it was just there, the thing that was there, you know, sort of inbuilt rock and roll sort of thing, do you know what I mean?
Right, yeah. Well, I didn't get a chance to thank you for helping me promote the tribute show that I did to Polly Styrene a couple weeks ago. Were you able to listen to that?
Yeah, it was fantastic. I thought you'd done a great I was really quite impressed, actually. I thought this woman's great.
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was.
And Polly
horrible.
wasn't bad either.
I thought it was horrible personally because it was one of the first interviews that I ever did, so I had no clue like how to act or.
I thought you handled it really good, actually. You sounded like a seasoned interviewer.
I was going to say, I think that it was really honest. I mean, I definitely and genuinely been a fan since I was in school for about 10 years now. So
yeah,
it's
so you're quite young then, aren't you?
Yep, I'm youngin'. But
Polly was. I mean, oh God. And when I listened to that, I had a lump in my throat all the way through it. You know, she was such a genuine person, you know.
Right.
She
was really
lovely lady.
I was going to say she was really honest as well. So I felt like that's. I mean, I don't think I've ever done an interview where I talked to somebody for 2 hours straight. So I thought that was amazing that she put up with me for that long.
Yeah. Well, you know.
So.
What else would she have been doing at 1 a.m?
Yeah, she was. In fact, she said she was in bed while she was giving the interview. So
yeah. Well, actually, I'm not far off that myself. I've been. Well, we've got some things going on in the house, and so did Polly at the time, I believe. But we've got we're doing a wet room. We're putting in a shower thing, and so there's all dust everywhere and stuff. So I've just literally had a bath, and I've got my Sex Pistols pajamas on.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, isn't that sad that you can buy pajamas from the Sex Pistols in the high street nowadays?
Really? Yeah. I think punk has sold out. That's for sure.
Long ago.
I was going to say in the States, I don't think it really had that much of an effect. Honestly, it's kind of still really underground, but I think in England it's definitely had a lasting effect, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the nice thing is there's still kids, you know, that are just finding it now, you know, and they're sort of like, you know, keeping it going, really.
Right.
You know, which is what we want. I mean, it'd be awful if it just sort of died out like, I don't know, like the old Teddy Boy movement, you know. And actually, sometimes you see, you know, in little local backstreet pubs, you've got people listening to Elvis and things like that, you know. And
right.
I've just got a sad vision of that, you know, like people sitting in a little sad, lonely pub listening to the Clash, you know. But I couldn't see that happening.
This is a strange question, but do you think that Lady Gaga was influenced by punk at all?
Yeah, I'd say she's influenced by it, yeah, obviously, yeah, because she's, I mean, fashion-wise, yeah, but I don't know about musically. But she is, I quite admire her for her, you know, the way she doesn't give a shit about anything, does she? So that's, you know, that's pretty punk, isn't it, really?
Right,
I suppose.
definitely.
But the music sucks.
I know, the music is horrible, but you know what? I think that she's actually really talented. I saw her, I think a year or two ago, she did a performance in the U.S., they have this thing called the Grammys, where they give artists awards or whatnot for
I've heard of that, yeah.
So, and she did a duet with Elton John, and I was like, why doesn't she sing like this normally? Like, why does she have to?
You mean it was pretty good, was it?
Yeah, like she actually has talent. It's just the way, I think the way that she portrays herself is really sad to me.
Yeah.
This package that she's selling. I'm not quite sure how to describe it, but it's like it's more about her image rather than her. Yeah,
I guess it's why are you in it? You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's obviously financial interest there. You know what I mean?
And people love her for it. I mean, I guess it seems like nowadays people in my age group and younger, that seems to be why they get into music. It's not really because they're genuinely interested in it for creative purposes and experimentation and whatnot. Maybe like how it was before, like the internet and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, the internet's a great tool for all sorts of things, and for, things like YouTube and stuff. I mean, you can find anything on there, which is fantastic. There was nothing like that around when I was a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they've got all these opportunities to take things forward. Really, I find it quite bizarre, really, that a lot of kids are sort of stuck in this monotonous circle of, it's the same old thing going on in their lives, and they're sort of like trapped. Do you know what I mean? It's quite weird, really.
I just feel like we have so much more access than we did.
Yeah, maybe it's a lazy. Yeah.
So,
it might be a lazy thing,
Yeah.
If it's all already, if you can find almost anything there, why bother trying? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really convenient to just go on YouTube and stuff like that, but to actually make your own thing, it still takes imagination and dedication and anything like that. So do you want to tell us about Punks Reunited and how that came about? I can't even remember how I found you on there, honestly.
I went up to... we'd done a gig in Scotland, the Straps, and it was the first thing we'd done quite a few gigs, but it was the first time we'd been doing anything for a number of years. And I ran into an old friend of mine. She was a great friend before I moved to London from Glasgow, and and I was asking her, have you seen so and so, and wonder what happened to various people, and she said, oh yeah, it'd be nice to see them, I wonder if they're still alive, all this sort of thing. And I just thought, well, maybe it'd be a good idea to try and find them on the internet, so how could I go about that? And so
it's kind of like it's kind of like an online meeting place.
Yeah, a bit like a dating agency without the date, you know what I mean? I'd done it on MySpace first of all, and just put, what could I call this? Punks Reunite.
Right.
Yeah, Punks Reunited, great name. Right. So that was that. And but I found on MySpace that there was a hell of a lot of bands trying to join the page for personal, for their own reasons, advertising, and we're playing this Friday, all this sort of thing. And it took over the page, really. Where you leave comments.
Right.
There was great big flyers, we're playing at the, the Apollo or something next Friday, all this, and I thought, this is just ruining it. So, luckily, I found Facebook, and I refused to let any bands join because I didn't want that sort of thing happening again,
I see. Well, you do have
and the great thing is I've found quite a lot of old friends from it. Ones in Glasgow. Sadly, a lot of them have died, but there's still a few of them from when punk first started. They've joined the page, which is great.
Yeah. But you still have people that contribute to it, right? Like they send you news items, it seems like, and you talk about what's in the news and things like that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So it's in a way it's informative.
Hey?
I was going to say, in a way, it's informative. because I'm 8 hours behind. So when I see some of the postings, I'm like, oh, I haven't heard anything about that yet. I'm just waking up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm fussed with the news, I'm afraid. Some recently bad news. You know, quite a few old punks have died, haven't they?
Yep.
You know, Malcolm McLaren last year, and then we had Ari up, and then of course Polly. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, but I posted some pictures and videos of the last show that I saw them at. They actually, when they did the reformation, the most recent one with Holly Cook, Paul Cook's daughter, and some other girls from London, and it was amazing to be able to see them. And I sang a couple songs with them, believe it or not.
Oh,
so
nice.
That was fun as well, and that was like the first opportunity that I'd ever gotten to do something like that. So I just hope that element of punk kind of is still, you know, being generated or carried on to the next generation.
I think so. I mean, a lot of I know we're all getting older, but there's a lot of punks on there that, you know, they're still pretty wild. Do you know what I mean? You know, they still do some things, you know, that make you laugh. You know, you think, great, you know, the spirit hasn't died; it's still there. You know. Yeah. You know, and then of course there are ones that have moved on and they you know, they work in banks and things like that. But I'm sure they rip off the suit and, you know, still a bit wild when they want to be. You know, it's in your heart, isn't it? It's not just a fashion sort of thing. Or
they go to the high street and buy Sex Pistols pajamas.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to see them perform?
Pistols?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've seen the Pistols. Yeah, they're great live, aren't they? They're a great band.
I saw them probably about 10 years ago, but obviously I didn't see them in the good old days.
Well, the first time round I never seen them because I was in Scotland, and when I moved to London.
I loved it there. I was there for 6 days. I think I spent 1 day in Glasgow and then a couple days in Edinburgh, and I just loved it. It was very charming and old-fashioned and completely different from England in general. Mm. They have their own thing going on. That's for sure. Yeah.
Well, I find there's an area in Glasgow, funny enough, that looks a bit like San Francisco.
Yeah.
It's got you know, it's got all the hills, you know, the great big hills that go up. It's sort of like Blytheswood area.
Right.
And it just reminds me of when I see things on the telly or on a film, you say, oh, that's like Glasgow, that.
They don't have trolleys, though, do they?
No, I've never been to San Francisco. I'd love to go though.
Yeah, you should come up here one of these days.
Yeah, I would love to go to the States, but I don't know if they'd let me in with all the posts that I do about. They're quite controversial, aren't they? I'd probably get arrested at the airport, you know.
You'll get detained and treated as a terrorist.
Yeah, send him, but tell him away. Take him away.
Everyone's a terrorist these days. So.
Oh yeah, that's ridiculous, isn't it? I mean.
Yeah.
You know, I know there's things go on. You'd have to be pretty silly to not think that badness exists. You know, of course it does.
I think the sad thing is that a lot of Americans believe it. Like, I remember, because I was in high school when the whole September 11th thing happened, and my first thought was, you know, don't judge anybody, don't blame anybody. But the first thing that we do is, you know, blame people of Middle Eastern descent, people who are Muslim, and it's just, I don't know, the whole way we went about doing that was just wrong to me.
Well, it was Bush, wasn't it? He was an idiot.
10 years later, we're in deep shit now because of it. But anyway.
Yeah, well, we're the same here with Tony Blair's actions. You know, absolutely ridiculous the way that man conducted himself. But, you know, and they go on about banks and blaming banks and, you know, for all the poverty and stuff. But wars cost money. You know, wars cost money. That's my thought on it, you know.
Yeah.
They don't come cheap, do they? Bombs and stuff, dropping from expensive aircrafts and things.
Yet we keep voting these same, you know, criminals into power that, you know, could care less that generations of people after us are going to be paying for these wars, you know, in debt.
Absolutely, yeah. And the thing is, I think people have got it in their minds, if we don't vote,
right?
It's a wasted vote, that sort of thing. Nonsense. If no one voted at all, what could they do? Do you know what I mean? Something would have to change, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think, because, they tried to bring in a new system over here just recently, last week actually, to change the voting system, where you could vote for a third, if you didn't like somebody and you got down to like the third person, you put in order who you preferred, you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, how absurd is that, voting for a third choice, We don't even like one of them, never mind three.
There's no good candidate. It's like a what do you call it? You vote for the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, that sort of thing, yeah. Absolutely ridiculous, And of course, it never went through. But I've never voted anyway, I never will, because I refuse to put my name to their bullshit,
Right. I was going to say, here in the U.S., because of what's happening with Obama and some of the things that he's done, I'm hoping that it'll generate young people's interest in voting for a third-party candidate, because in this country, there's been a history of third-party candidates getting elected. More, obviously not on the presidential side of things, but on like the more local government.
Yeah.
So I did an interview with a Green Party candidate for governor last year when we had the governor's race here in California.
Oh, so right.
California is still very set in this, Democratic, like overwhelming majority of people vote that way. So I'm just hoping that because of the economy and because of the way things are going, maybe people will start thinking outside of the box and stop.
Yeah. There's a lot of unemployment in America, isn't there?
I'm sorry?
It's quite high, the unemployment in America at the moment. It's gone way back to...
Apparently it's a lot higher than what they're saying on the news. I think it's...
Well, that's typical, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
a bit like that here as well. You get, they come through with these figures that are just, they're lying,
Yeah. Is it pretty bad over there as well?
Oh, yeah, it is bad, yeah. It's quite heartbreaking, really, because, without sounding sexist, you see loads of young guys now working at checkouts, and you think, bloody hell, what happened to our industries?
Right.
There's young lads walking about in charity shops working with older women, and you think, what happened to all the... Yeah, I mean, what happened to the British industry? It's just Mrs. Thatcher just completely ruined the whole scenario of, getting up in the morning and going to work and...
I think in this country I'm sure it's similar to over there, it was destroyed by multinational corporations and selling out our jobs to the highest...
Yeah, well, and that's what Mrs. Thatcher introduced here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. It was like it was...
She was working hand in hand with Mr. Reagan at the time. That was the...
Right.
They both had the same sort of ideals, didn't they?
I'll never forget my aunt. She told me the story about protesting something about, anti-guns or something, against what Reagan was talking about back then. And I guess they were attacked by people, people who were more right-wing, because she's always been on the Democrat side of things, more liberal, so I guess people were attacking her back then. So she stopped going to protests and things like that.
Yeah, it can be pretty dangerous to have a mind of your own sometimes, can't it? And you don't, unfortunately, you don't know who's watching you, who's listening to you, and I think if you go back in history, there was people like Charlie Chaplin got arrested for being a communist and stuff like that, didn't they?
Yeah.
In America. So it's very democratic, isn't it? Not.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think positively and think that, eventually people are going to come to their senses and start supporting people on a more grassroots kind of level and putting their money where their mouth is, saying one thing and doing something else isn't really going to benefit anyone. So you just have to support the people that that you think are going to make positive change. And I guess a lot of people thought Obama was going to do that. And
yeah, that was a big letdown, actually. He's just a yes man, isn't he, really?
Exactly. He's just
there's someone pulling his strings. It's not.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think. It's sad because he had such an opportunity.
He did. Mm-hmm.
And he's sort of blowing it, isn't he? He's not doing it what a lot of people expected him to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is sad. Sad.
Yeah. But
believe it or not, Aisha, I hate politics. Right? I know
we've
it
been
doesn't
talking
seem.
about it for the past 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know, and it's always on my page, and we're always saying this, that, and the other, but I actually hate it. But I feel compelled to voice things because no one else gives a shit. And I think if no one cares, then how are we going to change things? Do you know what I mean?
You're right. You're so right. And I try and use my radio show as my outlet because that's all I have is, to spout my opinions and things. And I feel like it's kind of the last option in terms of, having free speech allowed. I mean, it's amazing, but I'm able to have that
it is a good thing, yeah.
For 2 hours every week and be able to give that opportunity to, anybody that's interested in doing it. I feel so honored to be able to do that. So
yeah, that's about the only good they can't sort of paper over freedom of speech. They can't in one hand tell you've got this and then take away the other. So in a way it's a great thing, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That we can do that, and and I suppose that's probably the only difference between a dictatorship and like things that would go on in the Arab world and stuff like that, and what we've got, is that we've got that we can actually say what we want to say.
Right.
Which is one good thing,
Definitely. But I heard or I read something recently how they're trying to, since the radio station that I'm at, we're now called Mutiny Radio. They're trying to regulate online radio stations, but because we're online, in the past we haven't been subjected to the same rules that broadcast stations have, the ones that are broadcasting over the air on the FM and AM. Right. So apparently they're going to try and crack down on this soon. So
it's like everything else. It's like it's paranoia, really, because there's a lot of paranoia in politics at the moment, isn't there? And even down to postage and stuff. I know they've got to check things for bombs and what have you, but a friend of mine sent me a New Year card, and I got it last week. We didn't.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? I thought, what have they been doing with it?
It's never too
funny
late.
enough, eh?
It's never too late to say hello.
Yeah, and funny enough, she's from Virginia, and it's got on it. It's a card, and it's got some leopard skin in the back, and then it says "Fuckers England" on it with a skull. And there was a chain under it, but it was off. It was lying separate in the envelope, so I wonder if they thought it was a piece of a bomb or something. I don't know. But they take like nearly 5 months to get here. It's just,
Yeah, it's interesting, I guess.
Yeah, they must be spending a lot of time sifting through a lot of mail, just in case.
Yeah, I noticed that they rip a lot of the letters and packages halfway so they can take a peek. Yeah. And I don't know how I feel about that, but I guess since, it's a government agency, so they're going to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about Bartok? I guess that's a project that you were involved in with Rat Scabies from the Damned and Jaw Wobble?
Yeah, that was a long time ago. It was back in about 82 or something. It was well, first of all, the Straps had just split up. We'd done a tour with the Damned,
right.
And I became quite friendly with Rat and the captain, and all of them really, but Rat especially. And Jim, my drummer, had left. Jim Walker, who was in Public Image, right. He'd moved on to do some stuff with Wobble.
Mm-hmm.
But we were all still good mates, you know, so I asked Rat to come in and do some drums for me. I'd written a couple of songs, and he was happy to do that. As long as you kept him in brandy, it was okay. And we just had a good time in the studio. It wasn't an expensive studio, it was just a average sort of establishment. We didn't have much money in them days, still don't, but he came in and he laid down 3 drum tracks. He done a No Liquor, which we put on the Straps album. It was later released. He done a version of that.
Right.
And then he done I Am the Bomb and Insanity, 2 songs that I'd written. And then we got Wobble in to do his bass bits. And great bass player, Wobble.
Oh, definitely. I'm a huge fan of Public Image, actually. And I was quite sad when I did see Public Image last year when they did a tour of the U.S., but I was quite sad that he wasn't involved with that project.
Yeah, he's been long gone from Hill, yeah. But I met up with him just recently, actually, up in Glasgow. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't seen him for a number of years, and I asked him to remember me. Oh, yeah, he said, come on in. So we ended up having a chat for about 2 hours. And he phoned Jim. I hadn't spoken to Jim for a long time. I chatted to him on his mobile, and yeah, it was nice. It was nice to catch up with him. Yeah, and Jim emailed me recently and said if I could talk Wobble into doing something, he would love to be involved as well. So you never know.
Yeah, that would be exciting. I was going to say the last time I saw The Damned was also here in San Francisco. And apparently the captain, he'd gone to Hate Street, so he's wearing like this Hawaiian T-shirt. So I started screaming at him, "Hippie!"
He is a hippie. You know what? He's a great laugh, sensible. But I remember when we were on tour, he'd done nothing but listen to The Doors and a lot of sort of 60s psychedelic stuff. Yeah. Very heavily influenced by all that, but he's a great guy.'s so funny, isn't he?
He is interesting.
Yeah. And you know, I very nearly, there's a story I could tell you about him. When he left The Damned to do the solo stuff, I was drinking with him one night in the Marquee Club in Wardour Street.
Right on.
And I can't remember which band we're on, but he used to go out with this German girl, Kirsty. And I lived in Crystal Palace, and he said, "Oh, I'll give you a lift home, Jock, no problem." So he had this little camper van, and he put this cassette on, and it was "The Sun Ain't Gonna Shine Anymore" by Scott Walker.
Okay.
I said, "Oh, I really like this, Captain. This is great." I said, "I'd love to." He said, "I'll tell you what, Jock." He says, "Do you want the backing track?" He says, "You could put your vocals on it," and he said, "Just give me £100 what I paid to do the demo, and it's yours." I says, "Oh, great, thanks." Well, I was working in Boy at the time on the King's Road, which is a punk shop. I don't know if you've heard of that, have you?
Yes.
And I was in there, and I talking to my mate, well, he was my manager at the time. I told him about what Captain said, and I put the radio on, and all I heard was "Happy Talkie Talkie." I thought, "Oh, what's this?" And that was Captain Sensible, and he's straight in at #1 this week, folks. I thought, fucking hell. So I couldn't believe it, Captain Sensible singing this shit, you know. So anyway, I gave him a call, and I said, "Captain, what about that backing track?" He says, "You've got no chance, mate." He says, "They won't let it go." If I'd only had the money then, I could have been #1 the next week with "The Sun Ain't Gonna Shine Anymore." You know what I mean?
He sold out.
Yeah, but actually, I'm glad I never went down that route. That's
well, good for him.
But he came back to his senses, didn't he? His senses. He came back to his senses.
I guess
he joined The Damned again, didn't he?
Yeah, you have to have your 15 minutes of fame, don't you?
Well, I think, I suppose.
And do you want to tell us about another project you've been working on? I remember reading about you were doing something with like a rapper or MC.
Yeah, I'm working. I'm doing some stuff at the moment. Actually, it's quite good. It's sort of reggae / punk things, and this young lad's, he's a friend of my son's. I'm not really into rap music, but this boy's got quite a lot of. His lyrics are good. They're sort of anti-government, sort of for the people type lyrics. You know, they're not the usual rap sort of. I've got a big house by the ocean shit. You know what I mean? It's quite to the mark. Similar to punk lyrics. You know, that's why I chose to help him out, really. So yeah, I've got some. I just do stuff from home now. I've got quite a good little setup, and we've done a couple of tracks so far. And he wants to do an album. I want to do an album. So I thought, well, we'll see what we get. You know,
it's interesting.
Give it a go. It's got me wailing in the background, doing long notes and things like that, and he's doing his little rap bits, just now and again, little random lines. You know, it's not rap all the way through like Eminem and anything like that. It's mainly sort of my stuff, but with little bits of him coming in and out. You know what I mean?
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's different.
Is dubstep and grime pretty big over there?
Yeah, actually, yeah, it is. I don't mind a bit of dubstep.
That's
not too bad.
Do you remember Lady Sovereign?
Sorry?
A small girl from, I think she's from North London originally. Her name's Lady Sovereign. She was kind of big.
Yeah, I've heard the name.
Yeah, I quite liked her for a while, and then she kind of fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, when I say I like dubstep, I don't like it, but my daughter plays it all the time, so you just get kind of sucked into different grooves, don't you?
It's there.
I don't mind a bit of drum and bass. I like some of that stuff. That's quite good.
Yeah, I went to one of those shows at the Hammersmith Odeon the Hammersmith Palais when it was still open.
Oh yeah.
And I couldn't stand it. But I think it's because I was sober. I was just standing there like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah,
you've got to be off your head to enjoy it, haven't you? But I don't think, I mean, when I say I like it, I like the energy of it. I think a lot of people that experiment with it, they don't take it to its full potential, do you know what I mean?
Right.
I'd actually done a track a couple of years back. It was... we done an album in 2007, The Straps, but it was we only done about 500 copies. It was just for a festival. And there's a track on it, and it's a drum and punk track. It's got like a drum and bass backing track with fast punk guitars, and it works really well. It works really well, you know.
Right. Do you want to tell us about the Rebellion Festival? I remember you mentioning it, and I hadn't heard of it before, but then I looked into it and it sounded pretty interesting. You want to tell us about that?
It's fantastic. It's a fantastic festival. It's on once a year in Blackpool, which is a real tacky seaside town. And just all the punks from all over the world actually congregate, and we just all meet up there and have 4 days of punk rock. You know, there's loads of bands play from all over the world.
Right on.
This year we've got the Damned. Last year Killing Joke played.
Oh right, yeah. Their U.S. tour was cancelled. I think they've been trying to get over here. But,
there's loads of bands do it. No, actually, I don't think Killing Joke played. Who played last year? Who headlined it? Well, the UK subs, they play every year. I've done 3 of them. We played, last one I done was 2007, and then I injured my leg, so I haven't played since. But there's so many good bands get down there. Yeah, it's really good. You have to get over.
I know.
Come over. You'll have a great time, you know, and you'll sample a real sort of working class atmosphere in Blackpool, because of real rundown B&Bs and You know, all that sort of stuff. And so it's a lot of working class families go there for their holidays, you know.
Right. Is that where the festival is, in Blackpool?
Yeah, it's right smack bang in the middle, right near the tower. It's a place called the Winter Gardens.
Okay.
And funnily enough, the Conservative Party hold conferences there in the winter.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a real mixture of everything, that place.
That's amazing. I didn't get a chance to ask you yet, what bands and artists influenced you to become a musician? The Doors?
Well, I started off, I think, probably John Jack Burnell, because his bass playing was amazing in Stranglers, and it still is.
Right on. Mm-hmm.
And I think when I was about 16, I heard the Stranglers first album, and I just thought, this is fantastic. Yes, that's the one. And I just loved his bass playing. I thought, this is great, and it doesn't sound too difficult. So I went and bought myself a bass. It cost me 40 quid off a friend of mine.
Right on.
And I just started playing bass, and then it just went on. Then when I moved to London, I'd never sang before, and I met up with these guys at a party, and they said they were looking for a singer, and would I have a go? I said, I'll have a go. And that was that.
There you go.
It just went on for there, and but I play a lot of bass again. I'm doing a lot of bass playing now, and I enjoy playing. I think I've got to a certain age now, and my voice is starting to go a bit as well. So probably years of smoking and things.
Right.
Well, I don't smoke anymore, but it's probably damaged it from when I did. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I can still sing, but not. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I'm not happy with it. You know what I mean? So I'd rather do musical stuff these days.
And do you want to tell us about how you came up with the name for your original group, the Straps?
Well, I never actually came up with it. When I moved to London, Dave already had it going. And they had a singer called Howard, but he kept letting them down. He wasn't turning up for rehearsals and stuff like that. Right. So that's when they asked me to step in. And they'd done one gig, I think, with the UK subs at a school or something. And then we squatted the old Roxy. Have you heard of the Roxy Club? Of course you have.
Yes, I have.
Covent Garden. And a guy called Jock McDonald was trying to reopen it, and he wanted us to go on. We'd have been the first band to reopen it. But these bailiffs kicked the door in, and it was just a big battle with baseball bats and stuff. It was quite ugly, really.
Oh, wow.
And they shut it again. They just put the big chains on it, and we all sort of limped off with black eyes and cuts and stuff, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it never happened.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for doing an interview with me today. Did you have any last words before we sign off? What do you think? Well, you might want to tell us about how people can find Puncture United. Do you want them to find Puncture United?
Yeah, well, there's no room on the Facebook page. It's got 5,000, that's that.
Oh, wow.
But I've done another one. I've got a punctureunited.com.
Okay.
And I'm just starting to get to grips with sort of web building, do you know what I mean?
Right.
So but hopefully that will turn into something good, you know, that might be something for the future. And I've got Puncture United Europe on Facebook as well, which has got plenty of vacancies.
Yeah.
And what about you? What do you go and watch many punk bands, or are you more into some?
I have over the past 10 years or so. I've been to a lot of shows. I've seen Sex Pistols, Susie and the Band, a lot of the first wave bands. As you know, I interviewed Hugh Cornwell, ex-lead singer of the Stranglers, a couple weeks ago when he was here in town. So everything here and there. And I was going to tell you, I saw this American new wave band. You might have heard of them, the Cars.
From the Cars?
Yeah, have you heard of them?
Yeah. I think, is that the old cat? Are they an old band or?
They're from like the late 70s, early 80s, but they're American. They're not from.
Yeah, I remember them. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
They had a couple hits back then. So I went to see them last night in Oakland, and the show was very disappointing, to say the least.
Isn't it horrible when that happens?
Yeah.
You know what? I went to see John Cooper Clarke the other week, and I was so looking forward to seeing him.
Right.
And he was just pissed out of his mind. And I thought, oh, John. He'd done about 7 poems, and the rest of the time he was just telling really bad jokes in between.
He was amazing.
And I was
He was amazing. I saw him. Do you remember the Erg Festival? This is how I heard of him. The Erg Festival from 1980. It was something that Miles Copeland did. Brother. My parents actually went to the LA show for that. That's how I found out about it. And then they also did one in France and his performance, and I thought he was amazing.
Yeah, he was good. I mean, his old stuff. I mean, things like Chicken Town and the Beasley Street were fantastic. Great. And he'd done them, and actually, he'd done Beasley Street when I went to the toilet, and I missed it. By the time I got back through all the crowd and stuff, he'd done it, and I shouted, "Beasley Street!" And my wife says, "He's already done that." I thought, oh, shit. Everybody's all looking at me like, you know.
Yeah, but I mean, that whole era of music, I think, is nicely documented if you've never seen it before. They just recently released it on DVD, Erg, A Music War.
I'll have a look for that.
Yeah.
My big, I suppose, I forgot to mention, my biggest influence would be Wire, definitely.
Yes. They were here. They were here.
Wire. They're such a big influence in my... I mean, they changed my... I always say they're my favourite band, and people don't get it. You know, they say, why Wire? They're a bit weird and...
They're too arty. They're too
arty, yeah. I mean, you draw the line at Bruce Gilbert stuff, and he's lost the plot a bit, hasn't he? I don't get his stuff at all.
Yeah, I think they're an interesting band because they're one of those bands that started out, you know, kind of very punk and very minimal and simple, and then they kind of evolved over time. So it's always interesting, you know, when a band is able to do that. And
I really admire Colin Newman. I mean, I think he's such a good songwriter, you know, and and the new stuff's fantastic. The new album's great, and I've actually heard quite a bit of criticism on it, and I can't see it. I say, no, maybe I'm just obsessed with Wire. I don't know. I love the band.
Anyone thinks?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you like it, that's it, isn't it? Really?
Yep, exactly. That's how I think of it. Well, anyways, I will look for you. I will keep up with your news updates or whatever in the morning. I thought it was funny when you asked me, do you get any sleep? Because I have crazy work hours because I actually work 6 to 3 during the week. So when I see your updates, it's already 8 hours.
Yeah, you're on my page quite a lot, aren't you?
Yeah.
But I've been told by I don't know how many people that it's the best punk page on Facebook. So I'm quite pleased. I'm quite pleased with that. That'll do me.
That's good.
You know, that's a good compliment. Definitely. You know, and the thing that I really sort of take pleasure in is the fact that it's doing what it says on the can. Loads of old punks have reunited. They're all pals again, and they talk about the old days, and they go to events, they meet up, you know, and it's great. You know, you just think so and so. And actually, somebody got married. You know what I mean? They actually got married because they hadn't seen this. Yeah, I thought, bloody hell, it is a dating agency. I should start charging fees, you know. Yeah, I should start charging them fees, but
there you go.
Not really.
That's amazing.
If punk was about money, then I'm in the wrong business because I've never ever seen it that way. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I've had some good opportunities, and I don't care about money. Money means, you know, to me, people are more important than any money.
Definitely.
You know.
Yeah, and I want to say that I'm really inspired by what you just said because I hope I can do that with the radio thing and with the Mutiny Radio. That's something that the guy who originally started the radio station, Pirate Cat Radio, I think that was his goal, but I think he might have gone off the rails somewhere down the line. But I think ultimately that was his goal, is to bring like-minded people together, people that had something, they felt like they had something to contribute that they weren't able to release anywhere else,
Yeah, yeah. I think I've always said that people come first,
Right.
If you make a few quid on the way, then great, that's nice, but it's just money, isn't it?
Right. At the end of the day, what really matters. Anyways, we'll have a great evening and a wonderful weekend, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you, Aisha.
Okay, talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
And you're listening to another edition of Sounds from the Street. I am your humble host, DJ Aisha, and I just want to say a big fuck you to Tim Pearson. Don't fucking listen to this show if you don't know what you're getting yourself into.